It's great to be here in Birmingham. We've been on a bit of a world tour, really, over the past couple of months. And I initially, I think, started in Chicago earlier this year, talking to a group of people about rebates as a strategy. And then I think from there we were in Las Vegas, and one of our great partners is NetSuite, so we were at their event talking about rebates with all of their customers. I know there's many NetSuite users in the room here, including ourselves. And then from there, I was actually in Melbourne and Sydney. So we did a Elevate Sydney, Elevate Melbourne, and now to here, back to where we started. And of course, we started the company very close to here. So it's really kind of special for me to be back. And I have to say, this is the biggest audience we've had. So great job, UK team. I think we had probably 40 or 50 in Sydney, about the same in Melbourne. But this appears to be a lot more than that. So it's really, really great to be here. And we've been on a really exciting journey over these last few years. It actually dates back, a lot more than that, and I won't kind of date David and myself too much, but we started together in Coventry and started Enable, and really took many, many years to kind of get to our first true rebate management product that many of you use today. And then it's been the last 4 years where the thing has just really taken off in a very, very big way. And I think we've gone from a team of about 80 people in maybe 2020 to now about 600 people today. So this has grown rapidly, but these are very much our roots, and we are just beginning. This is just the start of what we're creating here and creating together. This is really a community where we're building something quite special. And I had some special kind of slides added in here, again, just because we're kind of coming back to Birmingham. And this is actually a photograph I stole, and I just apologize to the gentleman here that I stole it from. Sorry, Ed. This is not me. But some of you know my other passion in life, alongside computing and business, I guess, is flying. And I was fortunate to meet a flying school in Wellesbourne. Okay, so Wellesbourne is about 30 minutes from here. And they discovered I could do a little bit of computer programming, going back many years. So I kind of built systems for the helicopter school, and in exchange, they very kindly gave me some free helicopter lessons. So very generous of them. But I think what was even more impactful was they told me I should stick to programming as a career and not flying, and just do flying as a hobby. So that was good advice. But even more importantly, they introduced me to some fascinating business people who were learning to fly. And they were already very successful business people. And of course, they had lots of challenges in their business. So that really got us started on our career. And I'm pleased to say that Ed, who is flying this helicopter here, has been and is an Enable customer over many years. So thank you, Ed, for the flying and the business. What the helicopter flying led to was this company, DCS Group, which is now the largest distributor of health, beauty, and household products across the whole of the UK. And the guy that started this company, Dennis Short, he was learning to fly, okay? Met him at the flying school, and he'd got his business to about 40 million of turnover. And this is going back 20 years. And what he explained to me is he was working with all these great brands, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Colgate, Gillette, and so on. And he had identified that 90% of their sales were going to the big supermarkets, okay? So in this country, we all know Sainsbury's, Tesco, Asda, Walmart. Sorry, not Walmart. Oops, that's America. But that's 90% of the sales. And then there's a very long tail of small customers that can't hit the minimum order quantity of Procter & Gamble. So DCS set up to really fill that gap. And they offer lots of services like central distribution. They do repacking and all sorts of things to really kind of take those products into the wholesale and retail market across the UK. So that was really where David and I began to learn about this crazy thing called a rebate. And what we really saw is if DCS was the distributor, okay, and manufacturers like Procter & Gamble and Gillette were trying to deliver through DCS, they had lots of strategies. They wanted to get their products into the market in a certain way. They wanted to hit certain values and volumes, reach certain parts of the UK. They wanted to launch new products. They wanted to restore their market share in a certain category. So there were lots of there were lots of programs that the manufacturers wanted to drive through DCS, and what they were starting to do is offer rebates if and only if those strategies could be achieved, okay? So they'd say to DCS, we're going to sell you this product for £5. You can resell it for £5.50, so really small, 10% gross margin. But if you can achieve our goals, we will write you a payment for £100,000. And that was a rebate. So that was kind of going on. And it was becoming a huge part of the profit of DCS. But the crazy thing was, there was no software to run these rebates. And we thought, hang on, we're the distributor. We've got loads of manufacturers, all with different products, different categories, all with different rebate programs, with different targets and different start dates and end dates and so on. And we're tracking all this on Excel. And it's all of our, it's a huge part of our profits. This seems really crazy. And it didn't take long to see there was missed revenue opportunities because we weren't successfully executing these programs that the manufacturers had, and we were definitely leaking profit because we weren't claiming these rebates in full. We were just doing a really bad job, and many, many other things. So that was really the inspiration behind starting Enable. And we asked ourselves, why is this going on? What's the why behind this? And I think there's two fundamental kind of models that companies use. Pricing is important, of course. So what price are we offering? What discounts might we offer? But that's actually very limited because a discount is just something you offer up front. And if I want Hugh to sell 5,000 products and I just offer a discount, he might buy 1 or 2 or 10, but how do I know he'll actually deliver that kind of quantity? Whereas a rebate is much more flexible because you can build in all sorts of conditions, goals, and then you pay the rebate once those goals have been met. So it's a much more flexible mechanism to drive business. The challenge was just you needed something quite clever to do that well. You needed some good systems. And of course, the cloud was starting to take off. And that was the ideal environment to actually build a cloud solution so that companies could do this together collaboratively and get the full benefit of rebates. So I think that's kind of why it was happening. And we saw this across lots of industries. So just earlier today, in our customer advisory group, we literally had food service, we had pharmaceutical, we had automotive, we had fine art. We had so many different industries. We had manufacturers, distributors, retailers, buying groups, and we had, I think, US, UK, we had the Nordics, and we should have had Germany, but unfortunately, all flights were cancelled yesterday. But the point is, this just spans so many industries. So the next thing I've stolen today, I stole Ed's photo, but I've also stolen a quote from one of our great customers who is here today. And I think this does sum things up very, very well. That when you're in business and you're trying to grow your business and you are offering kind of short-term incentives like discounts, those things are just immediately forgotten. It's just, it really is not a strategic tool at all. But rebates are earned, and companies work towards achieving the next rebate, and there's a real loyalty factor there. And the first learning is that the rebates that distributors earn are actually greater than their entire profit on average. So if we just think about that, and there's a broad range, as you can imagine, but whether it's 40% or 300%, on average, 100% of a distributor's profit is the rebates they earn. So it's a huge number. And we've been talking about that for some time, actually, but we realized more recently that from a manufacturer's perspective, it's actually the biggest cost. And we've got lots of manufacturers. One of them employs well over 100,000 people globally, and the value or the cost of the rebates they pay is greater than their entire global payroll. Just think about that for a minute. The amount of rebates they pay is more money than their entire global payroll. So this presents a huge leverage opportunity to say, how can we make all of this work better? It's going on already, it's going on today, but generally it's suboptimum and it's not working that well. And even the world's biggest and best companies are still mainly doing this offline. Okay? As I say, Enable has come a long way in a few years, but we're still very small, very, very small. So this is a huge leverage opportunity to make rebates work much harder for everyone on this diagram. The next thing I thought was really obvious, but perhaps it's not, and that is collaborating on these agreements is key to success. So what I mean by that is, if I create an agreement with Alistair, the back of the room there, and we say, right, let's work together. I would like to sell certain products in the market, okay, and I want you to help me and support me, and it's going to be I'm going to increase your market share, but I need you to help me. We agree some goals in terms of what am I selling, who am I selling it to, how many am I selling, okay, how often, and so on. And once we agree that is something that both of us should actually be able to see. I mean, it's quite obvious, isn't it, really? But that's just generally not how it works. You know, how it works today is I document that and then put it in my filing cabinet over here somewhere. Alistair documents it separately on some other method and puts it in his filing cabinet. We probably don't talk to each other. And then what happens? It doesn't tend to work that well. So we kind of saw, again, the cloud opportunity of saying, let's build this from day one to be in the cloud and then have real-time access and even be able to see it with Alistair's data and my data. And then if there's differences, immediately see what those are and why. And you know, we'll work together to hit those numbers. So on Enable, a lot of our users do collaborate with each other on the platform, but not all of them. And the way we work is we have a health score for every customer. So this might be a bit of a secret that I'm letting you in on here, but each one of you has a health score on the Enable system. And we will tell you, if you're not sure what it is, we can tell you. It uses about 30 objective measures to determine what that health score is. And when I looked at all of those that are using collaboration together versus those that are not, there's about a 90% delta. It's like 40 versus 75 or something of the health score of those that don't collaborate than those that do. So we can see this in our data, and there's no doubt, whatever your objectives are by using rebates, drive more revenue, increase profitability, you know, launch new products, whatever those objectives are, companies that collaborate online to do that are seeing the results. You know, they're more effective and getting a better return on their money. Okay, the next thing is, this isn't certainly proprietary in our data, this is just on Google, but this is the year, 2023, that we are exceeding $100 trillion of global trade. You know, this is the year that we're breaking through that number. And some of my favorite companies are those such as Apple, Tesla, who are quite unusual companies because they have vertically integrated in that they make their own products, they sell their own products, and they support them as well, okay? And by the way, they have rebate agreements, even though they're fully integrated. But it's a bit unusual because you know, they're not using third-party or partners to sell. But if you exclude those couple of anomalies, for the rest of us, you know, we are selling through partners, and the vast majority of this 100 trillion is going through partners. It's actually more than 75%. It doesn't go from the manufacturer to the end customer. It goes through, you know, resellers, distributors, wholesalers. And over the last 2 or 3 years, it's very clear the types of pressures that we're all feeling in the supply chain, whether it be rising costs, you know, transport complications, availability. The pressure is increasing. And at the same time as that pressure increasing on that 80% of trade through the supply chain, customer expectations continue to rise. Who in this room uses Amazon at all? Okay, so the vast majority. And Amazon's a great company and obviously very successful, and they have many satisfied customers, but they have raised the bar with their same-day delivery, easy returns policy, one-click ordering. Everyone now expects that from all of your companies as well. That's just what's expected. So expectations are rising. And then the next thing that we have to battle with is just the complexity of the types of agreements we're dealing with. So again, we looked at our data, and what we saw when we looked at this period last year, there's an increase of about 22% of transactions that are attached to rebates, okay? So more and more of our transactions are attached to some kind of rebate, and the total number of rebate agreements that are active is actually 90% more. So just to explain that a little bit more, there's many more agreements and, you know, a reasonable increase in transactions attached to those. And what that means is we're creating with more frequency. It wasn't long ago where we just had annual agreements and life was quite simple. You know, I would say, at the end of the year, I'll pay you 2% on your purchases. Simple. Now, it's much more product specific, customer specific. It's a 3-month agreement, not a 12-month agreement. Or it's a 3-month in addition to the 12-month, in addition to something else. So the volume of our kind of agreements is increasing significantly. The types of agreements are also increasing. So it's not just an annual volume rebate. It's also marketing support. It's co-op. It's also claimbacks, special pricing. There's many, many different types of agreements which now exist. And where before I just got some of these rebates from my suppliers, now I'm expected to pay them downstream to my downstream partners. I'm also getting indirect rebates from manufacturers as well. So it's kind of much more pervasive throughout the supply chain. So if I just try and bring this together and summarize what I'm saying here, this is almost like the perfect storm, I guess, where trade is increasing and pressure in the supply chain is increasing as well. And then against that context, rebates, which are a huge currency that drive all of this, are getting much more complicated. So this is a difficult situation, and what's surprising, I think, is despite all of that, we still seem to work in silos. And I was debating that this could be a silo within a company, so it's the sales team versus the purchasing team versus the finance team versus the pricing team, or it could be silos across the trading relationship. So it's back to the Alistair and me example. I'm in my silo, and Alistair is a separate company, and he's in his silo. Someone actually said to me at the last event, even individual employees are their own silo. So each person is a silo. But this is the reality. This is the reality of what's going on. And I look at this in two simple ways. One is inside a company, and here's just 3 functions which are trying to deal with rebates. And I also look at it across the trading relationship. If we start with this one, the types of things I've seen are buyers who are paid based on the rebate they earn, even though the product may never be sold or may not be profitable, because it's just a silo, it's just rebates only, it doesn't take into account pricing. I have seen really, really clever agreements being negotiated, which have taken a lot of work, and they're fantastic agreements, but they're actually never made live. They never get set up in the system. And we sometimes find this with our customers years later. They sign it with Enable, and we say, hang on, this agreement, actually, you've never collected anything. It wasn't actually set up. So these kinds of things are caused by this kind of silo working. And then you can imagine that compounds and gets massively more complicated when it goes across a trading relationship, because now you've got all these silos within your company and then all the silos within the other company you're dealing with, okay? And the types of things I see here are, let's say, a rebate payment comes in, and from that company at the top, goes into that company at the bottom there, and they're running around the office saying, we've received this £50,000. Does anyone know what this relates to? And literally no one has any clue. And they just say, we'll put it in the bank. It feels good. That works the other way as well, where claims are received. We spent a lot of time today talking about claims, by the way. But a claim is received, and it says, you owe us £1 million. And by the way, this relates to 2 years ago. And then people are rummaging around through cupboards and drawers and filing cabinets, and it's just a nightmare. The final example on this is, I was talking to one company who said, we pay these rebates every month, but we actually have no idea why or what it relates to. But we're scared to stop because the person that set this all up left, and if we stop paying, our customers will complain because they'll say, where's this money? But we actually don't know what it is, but we have to just keep paying it. So this is just the world as it is today. And I think the opportunity that we all have to make a big impact. Now, after many years and lots of visits to lots of companies, my vocabulary continues to expand on this kind of world of rebates. And some of you will have good and bad and neutral reactions to some of these words. They're not our words, they're words that we're given. And what I want to really decree today, and what we're defining at Enable, is that all of these are rebates, okay? It's not actually a very original definition, because you could just look this from the dictionary, and that's virtually what we did. But a rebate is any transaction where funds flow back through the supply chain. And if you talk to a member of the public, they would say to you, okay, we understand in the world companies buy things and they pay their suppliers. That's how it works. That's the flow of money. We pay our suppliers deliver to us. Well, a rebate is reverse, isn't it? A supplier is paying its customer. And it doesn't matter whether it's a trade promotion or a co-op or a chargeback or promotional support or annual rebate or override or a retro, or it doesn't matter what it is, it's a rebate. So that's the first thing I want to really decree. The next thing is that this isn't a necessary evil. When we started this, I'd say the majority of people we spoke to said, this thing's a pain, we have to do it, can you make it a little bit easier? And we think we can, so we think with modern software, with the cloud, we can definitely make it a little bit easier. But what we've seen over the last few years is a transition to, this isn't actually an entitlement or a necessary evil. This is actually something that can drive our business. Because again, we can put these different types of rebates together, we can be very clear on what outcomes we want to achieve, and then we can work closely with our partner and everyone can win. We can set this out in a way that the distributor wins, the manufacturer wins, and of course the end customer wins, and build a really strong business relationship around that. So this is something I want everyone to think about and really look at how we can use rebates as a strategy in our businesses, because we're seeing it in all forms. I think our role is to provide a really kind of solid and secure place where we can bring all of our rebate information together. And what we want to be able to do is have you load your own data and then also very selectively determine who else you want to invite in. Which of your suppliers or customers or both do you bring into the platform as well, and bring in their data and then be able to work together in that collaborative way. So over the last year or so, we've been really launching this comprehensive platform for rebate management. We started really as a calculator, where we were calculating for the finance team. That was the beginning. But now we actually have a broad set of capabilities. And again, people in this room are manufacturers, distributors, buying groups, retailers. We've got everyone in the room today. And they are all stakeholders who use Enable today and get value from the platform. And then on the left-hand side, we started with these volume rebates, the 2% at the end of the year on everything you buy, quite simple, and worked our way down. And this is only a small list compared to that other slide, but special pricing agreements has been a huge focus for us and is something which is really now taking off in a big way, and then other types of incentives and rebates as well. And then from a capability point of view, there's actually a lot at play here. And again, rebates were seen as being this really narrow, small topic for a long, long time, but it's now widely recognized that there's a lot to do to manage that end-to-end process. And things like ingesting data from your own systems, your own businesses, and also from your partners. And then once you've got that in a clean state, being able to have a central place for all of your agreements, having the right internal workflows, so those agreements can be reviewed, approved, signed off, having an audit trail of who signed off, that's really important. And then probably the most frequently used word today, collaborator, collaborating with your different audiences inside your business and outside your business is very important. So this is really what we're we're here for at Enable. And there's 3 pillars that kind of guide us as we continue to build this out. Those 3 pillars are all C words, so comprehensive, collaborative, and controlled. And I think my take on this is the first one, the reason why we got in trouble in the first place and went to spreadsheets is because our ERP systems didn't give us comprehensive support, okay? Most ERP systems will do something. If, again, you're 2% at the end of the year on all purchases. You can do that in most ERP systems. But very quickly, you get out of you get beyond that, and ERPs can't support. So for us, it's really important that every type of rebate, every type of deal that a commercial team can imagine should be possible to be created and put into the platform. It should be totally flexible to create any and all types of deals, and they should all go into a single platform. Collaborating internally between functions, purchasing, sales, finance, that's the first stage of collaboration, and then opening it up in a secure way to your trading partners. So your suppliers can collaborate with you, your customers can collaborate with you, and as it says, going both upstream and downstream. It's not just one way anymore. And finally, controlled. And this is almost like the dilemma of rebates, because I said comprehensive, you want total flexibility, but you also need total control. You need the commercial teams to be able to get creative and create these really targeted, sort of surgical rebates that drive behavior, but then the finance team have to be able to calculate this robustly. You know, this is now, again, all of the profit, so the accruals have to be right. You have to have that control. You have to have that security. So that's really how we see it at Enable. And you know, what really excites me beyond software, beyond the rebate management platform, is building out the community and genuinely seeing people go from this kind of administrative role where I'm the person that runs these spreadsheets and I crunch these numbers and I spend all day, you know, behind a computer screen, to an actual strategic role, this rebate strategist role of I'm now out there actually driving better business outcomes for my customers with my partners, because a lot of this administration is being done for me, it's being automated. And that really is our mission. So the reason that I'm on a plane all the time, going from Sydney to Melbourne to Birmingham to Chicago to Vegas to wherever else I mentioned, is to get, you know, this, to spread this and get more people on this journey. And literally every time we turn up, the number of people gets bigger. So this is exciting. It's really coming together. And we're offering a lot more than just software. One of the big things now is actual certifications. So some of our speakers today are experts in different financial processes and how to actually deploy this successfully as a methodology, if you like, within your business. And so we have courses and we have certifications. So you are able to actually get certified. And I think my kind of takeaway for you is, if you're not yet a member of our community, please join. It is free of charge. Rebatestrategist.com. Like I said, we've gone from 0 to 1,000 in a year, okay, and this is going to be 5,000, 10,000 within, you know, a very short space of time. So I'd love for you to be one of those early kind of founder members if you're not already, and really we're creating this together. Together, we're really defining these strategies that are helping us to serve customers better and to help the supply chain work better. So that's probably enough from me for now. I believe I can take a couple of questions, and I'm going to ask Mr. Bruner to come back up to the stage.
I think our wireless mics aren't working, so we're going to go with this. We have time for a couple questions, and I will run around to you if you raise your hand and get you a question. Hopefully not someone in the way back row. Ed, Mr. Helicopter Pilot, how are you doing? That was you, right, flying?
Okay. So, Andrew, technology question for you. Where do you see artificial intelligence playing into the Enable product going forwards?
It's actually quite good because it gives me like 3 seconds to think of the answer while you're walking between the questioner and the... Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's three fundamental areas, Ed, that I see that. There's kind of getting data in the first place. So being able to set up agreements in the first place in a much more automated and intelligent way. You can imagine like a ChatGPT style interface where you say, create a deal for me which has got, a tiered deal that can give me 10% growth in the next 12 months on this category. So there's AI to help actually get rebates and information set up. I think there's then the kind of data components. So I think a big challenge in this whole space is distributors are trying to represent manufacturer data, and it's difficult to do because there's so much of it. It's not owned by the distributor. And what we're starting to do is take a distributor's product file and then cross-reference it with manufacturer data and augment it, okay, on scale using AI. And for example, the supplier will tend to pay based on rebate categories, but the distributor has no idea what rebate categories apply to their products. So augmenting it with that type of data really helps the distributor to take a lot more control. So I think kind of data management, AI around data management is the second one. And the third and final one is, of course, the insight and the output, and that's most powerful. Because the whole reason anyone uses this stuff is to drive better business outcomes. So we want more revenue, we want more margin, we want more product mix in the market, and by applying AI to all of the data that we have, we can make more and more intelligent recommendations on how you change your buying and selling behavior, how you change your agreements, how you create new agreements. So those are the three pillars.
Next question, hopefully in the front 2 rows. 1 Mississippi, 2, oh, it's the very last row. It's the very last row. Here we go. Get my steps in, get my steps in.
With a change in interest rates, obviously we're now 2 years of, we have 15 years of low interest rates. Have you got a cash flow interest rate calculator within the model? So you can actually, if you assume most rebates are paid after the transaction, that you can actually put something in where you can look at the cost of the interest rates against the transaction.
Thanks very much. And sure, so I think the whole working capital kind of calculation of taking things onto rebate or off rebate, and what is the cost of doing that, and then going to say quarterly payments or annual payments, and that certainly has a big impact on ROI. So I think the short answer is, we would aspire to do all of that. At the moment, I think what we're offering is a little bit more narrow. So we realize that for overall kind of, let's say, profit optimization and, again, working capital modeling, you're having to look at kind of buy prices, sell prices, rebates, the cost of capital, and take all that into account. And we recognize right now we're probably doing a subset of that, but certainly that kind of problem or opportunity resonates. And I think as companies consider how to grow and evolve their rebate programs, it is important to consider that. So it would be part of that kind of overall dashboard, but not in the product today.